Here's a late 60s Fender Telecaster bass that a buddy of mine, Kyle, just bought. He plays in a band here in town, and this is his first Fender bass and his first vintage bass, and he's very excited. It plays kind of stiff for him, and we're going to see if we can adjust it. I can see right away that the strings are too flat. The bridge radius probably needs to be adjusted. And to adjust the neck straight, I have to get at it. Now, on the vintage instruments like this, they adjust at this end. There's no room for the screwdriver, so I have to take the neck off. I might be able to just straighten this neck out perfect. We'll find out. If you don't keep it adjusted and you want it straight and it slowly develops that arc, it'll take a set and hold it. And the truss rod will never bring it straight. This is going to come off. Now you'll see that used to be white. Someone stripped the white finish off this. It was probably like a blonde or an Olympic white. And they stripped it right down to the bare wood and put a coat of polyurethane on it. And that's what you see here. First thing I'm going to do is take the nut off. I remove the nut, going counterclockwise. It looks kind of rusty and dirty. It's not really tight. It's almost loose, so hopefully when I tighten it, that neck will come straight. I'm going to put a little Vaseline or wax in there. Poke a cotton swab in there and see if any dirt comes out. And once there's a little lubrication on it, just put it right back on. We got the nut off and lube, put it back on and leave it slack. So it's not doing anything. I put 2 cauls on the face of the fretboard and a curve caul on the back of the neck and span it with the carpenter's level. And I clamped it into a back bow slowly, just creak it on back. When you look down that neck now, it's going like this at you. And then I tighten the rod and it's acting like a clamp. It doesn't have to do the work to get it there, it's just holding it there. It can go more. I'm just going by degree. I'm feeling it. That feels pretty snug. Now when I take this clamp off, the neck will stay in the back bow, I know that, until I put string tension on it again. Yep. I'm massaging it. It's just a tiny little piece of steel in there that does all this work. And for people to go in there and expect that little steel rod to move a piece of wood that big is kind of crazy. Now it goes back on the guitar and string back to pitch. Got the strings back on it. I'm anxious to see what we got. It looks pretty straight. Well, it's almost dead flat. I don't know if it would go any better than that. I mean, I can get some paper in there. It might have 2 or 3 thousandths of relief right now. I sort of call that a straight neck. There are no rules on how many turns you make. It's not turns. You don't take a truss rod nut and turn it. It's not like putting a nut on a hex bolt. You turn it a third of a turn or a quarter of a turn. A half a turn on a truss rod nut is a lot. A whole turn would be a huge amount once it's snug. To me, when you get a bass this old and the neck is this straight and the truss rod works, it tells me that it's been adjusted over the years. No one ever let it get out of adjustment. I lucked out on that one. With a straight neck, the action's nice and comfortable for me anyway. We'll let my buddy see what he thinks. I've got 120 thousandths on the treble and 125 on the bass side compared to 150 to 155, which is where we started. But I still have to change the bridge radius because I'll bet it still slaps. Mostly on the center strings, those are the ones that are out. We had good action on the outside of the fretboard. We just wanted to get the correct radius between those 2 strings. So we adjust the bridge until the radius is right and the action's good all the way across. Here's the understring radius gauge. I'd like it to touch all the strings. And since I'm happy with the outside strings, their action at the 12th fret's just what I want. I'm working towards that. We don't measure on the top because of the thickness of the string that would change the radius. If I can get the 2 center strings to the same radius, we'll have an even radius all the way across. I'm not going to raise these under tension. I'm going to give it a few turns and then raise it. I'll probably be higher than I need to be, and then I'll be coming down instead of going up. Now, because of the way these are made, when I tilt this, it changes that a little bit, so you may have to readjust the ends. Now we're in there. I raise the D and the A string, then lower the D string a little bit, Now I have an even radius all the way across, and I have retained the action at the 12th fret. Now with a P-bass bridge, it's a little easier to adjust the radius because the saddles are individually adjustable. This is a 7 1/4 inch radius, and the D string is too low. I still tune them down to do my adjusting. I'll hit that one just right. Since I have this P bass out, I'm going to check the action. It belongs to the bass player in my band. And the gap under that low E string to the top of the frets is 110 thousandths. I like to pull the string up and get in the basic area that I'm trying to read and let it down very carefully. I'm right on bisecting that line at 110. If that helps you on your bass. I think I'll get out my tuner and check the intonation. G. It's a little flat. Now, kind of like on a Telecaster guitar, this is a simple bridge on it. It's a two-piece bridge. If I move one string, I'm going to move that one too. So it's a trade-off. I think I tend to scotch that forward a little teeny bit and see what happens to the D. If I wasn't happy there, I may return to where I am. I'm going 1/3 of a turn. That's not very much. The D is holding where it is. It's still good. I've improved the G a little bit, so I'm going to leave it right there. Everything on this bass seems to work pretty well because I think it's been maintained. The tuners are snug and tight. I didn't have to tighten anything. And contrary to a lot of Fender basses I've played from that were older like this, there's not any stiffness to the tuners. They're smooth. If there is, like the G tuner on this P bass, take it all the way down, flip it over. I'm going to lube it and tighten the parts. Maybe they're loose and they're binding up because of that. And that's it. I'm anxious to get this back to Kyle and see what he thinks. We've got a much lower action and a straight neck, and it always sounded good.